everybody. I'm Kathleen. This is Kathleen's Trodden Trail. Today is Monday, the 30th of August. Today is our second day of being under 90 degrees. Our second day, and I don't know how long. We have had the hottest weather I can ever remember for the most consecutive amount of days, I guess, with the least amount of breaks. But I don't think we're supposed to get up to 90 now for the rest of the summer, so I'm so grateful. I have a whole bunch of stuff to talk to you about today, and I'm waiting on a phone call that I'm going to have to take. So when the phone call comes, I'll pause you, take the phone call, and then come back. And I can always cut all that anyway, so no big deal. But anyway, I have some finished items. I have some fully finished items. I have some gifts, and then a whole bunch of whips to show you, or a few whips to show you. And then I think what I'm going to do is try to come back later in the week or the beginning of next week and do a mini whip parade of things that I'm thinking about working on for September. I'm still trying to figure out my September and actually figure out the direction I want my cross stitch to take this fall, just because there's just so many things. I have so many whips in the works. Whips in progress, and there's things I want to get done for Halloween, there's things I want to get done for Christmas, there are several gifts I need to get done, and I'm just going to need to kind of get it all figured out, and once I do, I will come back and we can talk about that. So there's no need for me to be talking fast because I'm not going to probably get you all done here before the phone call, but for whatever reason, I feel kind of rushed now. Okay, so I'm going to start with fully finishes first of all. And I couldn't remember, I had shown you a while back a whole bunch of Lori Holt stitching card pieces that I had finished and then fully finished. And I couldn't remember if I showed you this one with the little bees. I think I did, but this was one that I did on a bigger, I think this might be 25 count. Like a 25 count or a 28 count Lugana. I think it's 25 count. And so it's just the little bee, but it turned out a little bit bigger, and I think it turned out so cute. It has bee fabric on the back with a little bit of wool and a button. But I have this displayed with a whole bunch. I kind of went through a whole sunflower phase, and I'm not really quite out of that sunflower phase either. But I did a whole bunch of, I kind of have decorated the whole house with bees and sunflowers here probably since about mid-July, and those are going to come down. Some of the sunflower things will stay up, the bees will come down, and I'm going to put up fall probably later in the week, although I'm looking towards the front door and I see my spring rug that's hanging above the door still up there, so that definitely needs to come down. I'm in a new stitching spot, and first of all, I want to say that this wall is not nearly as yellow as it looks in the camera. That looks really mustardy yellow, and it's not. It's a softer yellow than that. But yeah, it for whatever reason, this camera, and it must be my lights, make everything look a lot more yellow than normal. But this is the beginning of my sampler wall back here, and I have the two pieces that I've done. This is a Brenda Gervais. Oh, I can't remember what this one is called. Brenda Gervais something. I can't remember. And then that one up there is Kathy Barrick, and it's called Eden's. I think it's called Eden's Playhouse. And it's got like the young Adam and Eve and the snake and the whatever, and I framed that myself. I need to find a smaller frame for that. There's way too much fabric showing. But those are the only two I did, and then the rest are antique samplers, and probably not super antique, although this one might be quite old. This is more of a needlepoint piece than cross stitch, but the rest are cross stitch, and they're just samplers that I've gotten online, that I've bought through different auctions and sales and whatnot, and they're the ones. I have several others, but these are the ones that I have framed, so I have those up there, and hopefully someday this wall will be filled with all of my work, but you know, at the rate I'm going and only seeming to get smalls done, it'll be a while. So anyway, that's a new spot. Anyway, flower or sunflowers and bees. And so I did several of the Priscilla and Chelsea sunflower and bee themed, the tiny tidbits and the trying to think what all the seed packets, but I never was able to get the sunflower seed packet done. I have the chart, but I never got it done. But this is the first one. This is one of my favorite finishes ever. I think this turned out so cute. This is Sunflower Farm, and I did this on 40 count 40 count black linen, and I don't really know how I was able to get this done. I have such a struggle with black and stitching on black, and I didn't have any problems with this. I thought, well, I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to start it and see if it's awful, then I'll switch to something else. And I stitched it right up in a couple of days, no problem. I backed it with a little bit of velveteen and kind of a nice mustardy. Boy, that really matches the wall. A nice mustardy yellow. And then I used Vanna's tutorial on making the ruched ribbon. So this is just plain black ribbon, and then I ruched it going around, and then just tied it in a little knot up here at the top. And so I think that turned out so cute. But this, being done on a smaller count, I just love the way that turned out. It's just that truck, and so it's stitched 1/2 on 40 count, and it's interesting how much better my white stitches look when they're stitched with one thread. That's very interesting. And then on a piece of probably 14 or 16 count black Ada, I did the Pick Your Own Sunflowers. I think this might have been, I want to say this was the freebie chart that was included with this chart, but I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure. And I believe I did this one first, and then I decided to give this one a try. And kind of got the idea of, doing them on different counts of fabric from Lori Holt's stitch cards. That's kind of what she recommends with her stitch cards, is do them on all different counts of fabric and have, different sized of the same thing. And it's just kind of fun. So this is just, this was an easy stitch. That black Ada is very, very simple. I think I got it at Fat Quarter Shop, and it's very stiff when you first get it, but I stitch in hand, and it softens right up the more you stitch. So Pick Your Own Sunflowers, I thought that was really cute. And then I took the design from here, I think from the sunflowers here. I think these are stitched a little bit differently. Yeah, this is also a Priscilla and Chelsea Stitching with the Housewives chart, but I took the sunflower chart from here, and I wanted to do just one more little individual sunflower, and I kind of just expanded it out a little bit. And I did this also on that 40 count black linen, and just stitched it up, added a little bit of, I glued the twine on, and I just twisted 2 pieces of twine together and glued it on, and that turned out. I used that same backing for that. I think I used that same backing for all 3. So those are on display where the spring and summer little small stitch card pieces were in the bathroom, up on a white shelf in the bathroom, and they look super cute up there, along with, I have the little bee up there with them as well. I cannot remember when I first found this chart. I think I Googled on Etsy. I believe I Googled, maybe like sunflower cross stitch or something like that. And this chart came up. Now I'm going to forget who this chart is by. Several people have already asked me. It's not the Primitive Hair, and it's not, I don't think it's Chrisette Agogo, but I could be wrong. I'll look it up. If you want to know who the chart is by, let me know, and I'll look it up. At any rate, well, let me show it to you and then I can explain more. Okay, so here it is, and now you've seen this because Cynthia Brew, Stitching in the Light, also stitched this, and hers looks a little bit different than mine. We both each put our own kind of, whatever into it. Hers is gorgeous, but it was really funny. She finished hers and showed it, and I was about 3/4 of the way done stitching mine. I was so excited to get it done. This was one I really had a hard time putting down. It was really a fun stitch. Now, what's interesting about it is I stitched this on a piece of linen that is actually not meant for cross stitch. I ordered a bunch of linen from Blackberry Primitives, which is a company, I think out of Kansas City or Missouri, somewhere in Missouri. And they have a lot of Maggie Bonami's her wool applique, and they sell her kits, and they do a lot with Maggie Bonami. And so I happened to be on their website ordering some Maggie Bonami wool applique kits, and I saw that they had linen. Well, they didn't, I don't think they called it linen. I think they just called it fabric. And it came like in fat quarters, and it was all different colors of this real modelly kind of fabric. And so I ordered a bunch and my intent was to use it on the backs, for finishing on pillows. Well, when it came, I took a look at it and I said, well, that's linen. I can cross stitch on that. I mean, it's a woven, a kind of a loosely woven fabric. I can actually stitch on it. So I wrote to the gal at Blackberry Primitives and I said, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about this fabric? Is it okay to cross stitch on it? And can you tell me what count it is? And she wrote back and she said, I have no idea what count it is. I don't know, and it's not okay to cross stitch on it. Teresa Kogut tried it, and she could not get it to work as far as cross stitch. So, meantime, while I was waiting to hear back from her, I went ahead and started stitching a little something on this really cool piece it's kind of a purpley black fabric. And I wasn't having any problems with it. Now, it's a very uneven weave. There are, and it's not only woven unevenly, but each individual strand of thread is very uneven. So so there are some really thick strands, and there are some really teensy strands, and there are some really, kind of in between strands. But so it does take a little bit of work to just make sure you're not missing any of those real skinny strands if you're going over two. And it's going to give you a more primitive look because of the thicker strands if you're going over two. But I loved that look, and that's exactly what I was going for in this. And I finished this in like 10 days, which for me is a pretty good amount of time. If I had to guess, I would say this is maybe a 32 count piece of linen. I kind of tried to count it, and it's pretty hard to count. I mean, you can count it, but because the threads are so, unique in size, it's kind of like you get one thread that actually is equal to 3 threads further along. And anyway, but I think it just lent itself to the primitive look, and I could see why Teresa Kogut, as a designer, wanting, her pieces to look really accurate and precise and perfect in terms of like her models and stuff. I could see why this wouldn't work for her. But for somebody like me, who, first of all, I'm not the most precise stitcher as it is, but also I love that primitive look. It was great. So I have 2 ornaments started on, not on the same color, but on another color. I think I got 5 or 6 different colors of this fabric. And, I plan to use it quite a bit. Her face, doesn't it look like her face is two-toned. I love Perfect Pie Crust, which is I think it's a classic Colorworks. I love that for flesh. And I always try to pull Perfect Pie Crust when I am doing flesh. But for some reason, the piece that I pulled was quite a bit darker on one side of it, and I stitched the top of her face, and as I kept going down, I'm like, yeah, that's very variegated. It's usually not quite that pronounced, and I probably should have taken it out, but you know what, I was going for a really prim look, and I just decided I'm leaving it in, and I'm letting it go. So I don't think it has any of the called for colors. I kind of just winged it. You can't even see the fence over here. It was a dark fence. I probably should have made it a light fence, but I just went with it. I finished this on a board from, I want to say like Walmart or something. I think it was on sale for, I don't know, like it says $9.99, but I think I paid half that or something. And then I just put some of the bee fabric around the sides. I can't remember what was on the sides. Probably nothing. A little bit of rickrack, a button, and a little bit more of that same twine at the top. And so there you have it. I want to say this is called Sunflower Garden, but I'm not 100% sure. So if you need more information on this piece or the fabric, let me know, and I'd be happy to give you more information. I thought that fabric was really a lot of fun to stitch on, and like I said, I'm stitching a couple more ornaments on it. I need to let the dog in, so stand by 1 second. And then when I was Googling, I think at the same time that I was looking for, that I found the Sunflower Garden project, I was on 123 Stitch looking for sunflowers, and the Prairie Schooler, what are these called? Prairie Schooler fairies or something came up. This is my other finish, and I stuck this in a frame, also from Walmart. I thought this frame was so perfect for this. I actually had something else in it, and I took it out and put this in it. These are little fairies. There's 4 of them. They're all in a different kind of a bird, and they're seasonal. You can barely tell she's a fairy. In fact, I didn't know when I ordered the chart that they were actually fairies. I just saw the sunflowers and ordered it because of the sunflowers. I think I received this chart on a Saturday. I started it on Sunday, and I had it finished by Tuesday. This was such a fun stitch. So you can see she's a little fairy on this, I would assume, crow, sunflowers down here, sunflower up here, the sunflower seeds blowing in the wind, her little wings, which you can barely see. Her skirt, which has sunflowers in it. I love this. I think this is so pretty, and so different and so cute. And I would like to do all of them, and they would all look really good in this frame. So I may go back to Walmart and see if I can find more of this frame. It was super inexpensive. Is the price on here? No, it's not. But it was like $5 or something. So that was fun. That's up on the mantle up above the fireplace, and I think that's just so cute. So those are my finishes. My FFOs. Let's go on to gifts, and then let's do this really quick. I've been working. Hello, it's me again. So that phone call that I was expecting ended up lasting a really, really long time. And then my husband came home, and it was time to make dinner. And so here I am. It is now Tuesday morning, August 31st, and I'm finishing the last little bit of this video. And then I'll just combine them and put them all together. We're having a tremendous rainstorm this morning. It's been raining for the last, I don't know how long, since well before I got up at 5. And it's thundering and lightning, and so the animals are all kind of freaking out a little bit. It's still super dark outside, even though it's almost 7 o'clock. You hear the thunder. So I haven't let the chickens out yet, and I think it's just going to shape up to be one of those days. My phone started ringing at 6:15 this morning with work issues, and so it's just, but we're just going to go with it. Hopefully there will be no interruptions between now and the next little bit when I go ahead and, finish filming, and I can go ahead and finish filming. This is only my second cup of coffee. I'm sorry if people don't like, drinking and eating on camera, but I need this coffee. Okay, so I'm going to move on to a couple of finishes that I have, and then a few whips and a little bit of, oh, I still have to show gifts too. Let's do that first. Let's do gifts first. So I received a really sweet package from my friend Jen of Jen's Stitching Niche. And if you haven't checked her store out on Etsy, I would highly, highly encourage you to go look and do some shopping at her store. She has she has a wide collection of lots of different kinds of charts, everything from, Blackbird to even some of the more obscure designers, and she just has a really, really nice collection of different charts. She has all kinds of accoutrements for finishing, fun little doodad. I mean, just a wide variety of things, and you really need to check her out, kind of on a, maybe like I try to take a look every other week. She has great fabric from all different, dyers, all different types of people. But I find that, I go in to look for one thing and I end up, spending a lot of money. But it's just all lovely and totally worth it. Anyway, she is designing her own little charts right now, and she's doing a monthly kind of quilt design, just a small, and she sent me a box for my birthday and sent me the second in the series of the little small quilt designs, and it's a sunflower. And so I want to show you that. It's a little sunflower pillow. Oh, Jen is another one of those stitchers where I look at her stitches and they're just perfection. But she designed this, it's a sunflower, but she designed it to kind of look like how you would quilt or piece a sunflower in a quilt. And I think this is just outstanding. The bees, the border is really cool. So when she told me, when I wrote her to thank her for it, she told me, yeah, this is the second in my series, and the first in the series is actually a basket. And so I ordered both charts, and I would actually like to do a whole bunch of these in lots of different fabric. 40 count, some 40 count, some 25 count, some 32 count, and have them be just all different sizes and in different colored backgrounds. I love this background that she used. It's showing up pretty true. It's kind of a green, a sagey green, maybe we would say. And I don't know, I think it looks like maybe it's 32 or 36 count, but isn't that just stunning? Isn't that so pretty? And she put a really beautiful fabric on the back. And so there were several other things in that box, but I for sure wanted to show you this. On the sunflower theme, this wasn't from this year, but from last year, or it may have even been 2 years ago. This came from my sweet friend Marlene, Stitching by the Lake, and she had made this for me. And I display this all different ways. This is kind of my favorite way to display it, and then I have kind of a big waxer of a bee, and I tend to lean that up against it. I have this leaning up, currently have this, and I kind of do my decorations different every year. Sometimes I take pictures after I finish decorating, and then I look at those pictures the following year, and a lot of times I want to do something completely different. But this year, I have a Ray Dunn mug that's yellow, that's kind of the deeper yellow in here, and I think it says sunshine on it or something. So I lean this up against the Ray Dunn mug. You can just see the kind of the top of the yellow of the mug here, and then I put that little waxer here, and it's just as cute as anything. But talk about perfection in stitches. Yeah, those are gorgeous stitches too. Marlene's another one who just does such lovely work. But then I have to show you, remember when I talked about going up to Sioux Falls and meeting with Marcy Thiessen and Sue Rayner, and she's Susie Reno on FlossTube and Instagram. And I wasn't able to go this year, I sent a box with some goodies in it for them, and they each sent me their boxes, and Well, in my box I had included a couple of little smalls. I used the kind words chart from Not Forgotten Farms, and I think I did Susie's in a kind of a bejeweled blue, and I did Marcy's in a deep red, and I did them. Susie's words were long, I think, and Marcy's were stacked, but anyway, that kind words chart by Not Forgotten Farms. I think I've stitched that 4 or 5 times now, and I still don't have one for me. I've made it for various friends. But we just do, I just put that. I put a little small wool applique pillow that I had done, and then some other goodies, and it was just very basic and very simple. Well, Marcy's box came. I showed you Susie's box, and it had the heart and she had stitched up the little heart that was, I believe, last year's February freebie from Kathy Haberman, and it was just to die for. And then Marcy's box came, and I opened it up, and there was just all kinds of tissue paper and all kinds of goodies in it. But I have to show you what she sent, and Susie even texted me and said, "Were you just blown away by Marcy's box?" And I was frankly blown away by both of them, but Marcy, all I can say is she went above and beyond. So she sent one of the little boxes, which it looks like she stained beautifully. I think I'll show you kind of each individual piece. This is the inside of the box. Some lovely fabric and some nice trim around the edges. So now I want to make like a million of these. This is the top of the box. I'll show you the side. A covered button, lovely trim. It's lined on the inside. And then on the outside, this gorgeous stitching. It says, move the pins over. It says, it has all of our initials, Marcy, Kathleen, Susie. It says Sioux Falls, and then in little tiny, teeny tiny 1/1, 2021. Absolutely gorgeous. And then there's another K. I'm assuming Susie's was the same, and then another K here for my initial. The little house, and the stitching. Oofta, gorgeous. This is done on at least 40 count, if not smaller. And then, but wait, that's not all. Inside the box was this gorgeous paddle. So she took, one of the little paddles. She put a beautiful velvet ribbon at the top. This lovely stitched piece on the front side. Beautifully, beautifully finished. When Susie and I went up 2 years ago, Susie brought a craft project for us to do and all the stuff to do the craft project, and we spent a couple hours having a good time with that. My suggestion for the coming year is going to be that Marcy teach us how to do some of this finishing, because oofta. On the back side, she created a little pocket. She attached floss, pins, and the label for this floss, which is, it's Jakey Brown. There's a lot of Jakey Brown in my Pink House sampler by Plum Street. So just gorgeous, but wait, that's not all. Then there was this spool, another covered button, more cross stitch. I believe this is more 1/1 on a band, on a spool with, lovely thread. And then it just goes on. A scissor fob with my initial, beautiful scissors. And when I was thanking her and we were texting back and forth, she said, by the way, the spool is a scissor holder. And so there you go. And I feel like she told me she drilled this hole so that it could be a scissor holder. It's all, I mean, it's just, so I have this, I have a couple of new antique pieces, and I have this sitting out there, and I'm getting ready to decorate for fall, and you know, it's not really gonna go with my fall decor, but guess what? It's staying out. It'll stay out all year. And I have kind of what I do with things like that is I have quite a few antique cabinets, and so with things that maybe are a little bit off season, but I don't want to necessarily put them away, I'll put them inside the cabinet on a shelf with other items of the like, and so that way I can still look at them and still have them out, but I don't necessarily have to, you know, they're not out in the middle of sunflowers or whatever, pumpkins or whatever. Okay, speaking of sunflowers and pumpkins, I have two finishes not FFO'd. The first is because I am doing the Crescette a Go-Go Stitch Along with Somi Sarah, which is the Finestro del Tempo, which I looked that up, by the way, and I told you that it meant calendar. It actually means, I think it's Finestra del Tempo, and it means a window in time in Italian. And so we're doing that, and it's a monthly series, just a small, and I'll show you my progress on that, and that needs to get finished today because that was the August piece, so that's what I'll work on as soon as I get this uploaded. But because I started that sale and I went to Crescette a Go-Go online to purchase that chart, of course I purchased a whole bunch of other charts, and one of the things I found was another calendar type release that comes in, I think, also 4 different series, and it's more of a, rather than being a monthly release, it's more of a seasonal release. And so the reason I did this one is because of the sunflower. But this is the August/September because it had both of those on the chart. No, I'm sorry, not August. It's the fall/September chart of the series, if that makes sense. And I'll probably do them all. So I think there are like maybe I think there are maybe 8. I think there's 2 for each season. And I could be wrong about that. And I don't remember exactly what this one is called. This one might be the A Tempo one. I'm not exactly sure. But if you go to Crescette a Go-Go, you can see all the different releases that she has. So I stitched this up in probably like 2 days, and I think it turned out so cute. I stitched this on a piece of 16 count Aida, hand dyed, I'm pretty sure either by Misty Purcell or Teresa Kitten Stitcher. I'm pretty sure it's one of their Aidas. Turned out as cute as anything. The colors are not exactly, they're not all exactly fall, and I kind of used my own colors. I stuck with, in general, the colors. I sort of wish I had done her little, and I don't know what a bunny has to do with fall, but she was so cute. I couldn't leave her out. I thought about changing her to like a little mouse or something, but she was just too cute, and I put her on there standing on top of the toadstool. Just so cute. The little wagon, the white pumpkin. I mean, just everything about this. And mostly the sunflower. Now, you could do the letters, obviously, in English. She gives you all the letters. You could do them in Italian, which is how she has them, I believe, in the original chart. I chose to put them in Spanish. I love the way that looks, and the Spanish letters fit, they're very similar to the Italian letters, so they fit just fine. So otoño is the Spanish word for fall, and then septiembre is you can figure that one out. But anyway, I think this just turned out just so cute, and I don't know how I'm going to finish it. I'm kind of thinking a paddle finish, but I'm also kind of thinking maybe this would be a cute one to put on like a clipboard and then switch it out seasonally. Now, the next one, the other one that's kind of significant to fall or works with fall is actually I think it has October at the bottom for the month, and I don't know if it might say Halloween, I'm not sure, but it's a witch and with some jack-o'-lanterns, and it's super cute. And I actually started that as soon as I finished this one. But I thought I was going to be kind of clever and start it on a 10 count. I forget what that fabric is called. I know a lot of the Prairie School or yearly Santas are done on that. It has a different name to it, but it's a kind of a thicker fabric and very soft. And I was stitching it with all 6 strands because the holes are quite large. And I actually got a considerable amount done, and now I'm looking at it and I'm not sure I like it, and I think I want to do it because I love these charts so much. I think I want to restart it on either this fabric or similar fabric, like a 32 count Aida 16 count Aida or a 32 count linen. But I haven't decided, so I don't know if I brought that over to show you or not. So anyway, I just think that is, I just love that. Crochet a go-go. And then I talked about trying really hard not to slurp. I talked about a couple weeks ago going out to Reflections. I think the last time I filmed, Colleen and I were leaving the next day and meeting out at Reflections for a little shopping spree. And we did, and we shopped, and I bought way more. But in my defense, she lives close by, and she goes in all the time. So I don't feel too bad. But anyway, one of the things that I found, and I don't think I bet I do have the actual, I have it right here. One of the things I happened to come upon was the patchwork, it's early, the patchwork crow. And Chrissy, finally a farm girl, showed this the other day. She bought this too. And that crow, that dark, anyway, I loved it. And I love this, it says, I know everything is backwards for you. I tried to figure out how to flip it around, and I just don't know how. But it says, share your harvest to give meaning to life and peace to your heart, which I loved that sentiment. And so this one has some buttons on it, but I don't believe mine came with any buttons, which was totally fine. I probably have some of those. It's like a leaf and an acorn. So that chart is surprisingly large. I mean, it's not that big, but there's a lot of stitching. That crow took absolutely forever, but I did finish it. So here's my finish. Sorry, none of the called for. But I tried to make it fairly close. And what I ended up doing was combining a bunch of different threads. The crow actually looks better on camera than it looks in person. I'm not thrilled with the coverage. I used the whole entire crow, or all the black, is stitched in one strand of DMC 310 and one strand of, I think it's Classic Colorworks Black Coffee. And I was trying to I wanted it to be kind of modelly, but I wanted it to be, I wanted there to be really, really good coverage. And it's okay. I mean, like I said, it's good from a distance, but if you get up close, I kind of wish I had stitched it in 3 strands or something else. Now, the smaller crows are all stitched in 2 strands of anchor. I found some anchor, and several other people have mentioned this as well. I found some anchor at Joann's, I think it was, that is on a spool. And so the smaller ones are stitched in the black anchor. And those actually have a little bit more coverage, but there's no modeling to that. So, yeah. The other thing I changed is all of the sunflowers were done in in 4 different colors. like two golds, an orange, and kind of a red. And when I got over here, I decided I wanted some more traditional looking sunflowers. I also decided I wanted more of a lopsided sunflower, so I stitched this, because sunflower, like I have some sunflowers, fresh sunflowers over there from Trader Joe's, and they're, sunflowers aren't perfect. They're all like different, and anyway, so I stitched at I was just tired of doing this, to be honest with you, and I was like, let's do it different. So that's different. The letters are stitched in I think one strand of Gloriana and one strand of DMC, and I also wanted them to be a little bit modelly, and they're not at all. The Gloriana that I used just didn't have enough modeling in it to show up through the DMC, but that's okay. Love this pumpkin is stitched in it's like what is it? Perfect Pumpkin, a Classic Color Works, not Perfect Pumpkin, but something pumpkin, and a strand of DMC orange. So I just did I just kind of, how I do. I just kind of wing it. Just whatever floats my boat. And then usually I'm not as happy with it as I would have been if I had just stuck to what the designer called for, but really love that. Excuse me. And I think I'll frame that. Okay, so I mentioned yesterday, earlier in this video, that I'm not exactly sure what my September plans are going to be. I sort of have all kinds of things zooming about in my head, and I may very well scrap all of those. I may stick with some of it. I don't know. For today, I need to get the Crissette à Go-Go January block finished, and I'll show you where I am on that. And again, this is called Finestro del Tempo, A Window in Time, and it's a monthly series. And I need something for the background. Where is that? I throw things over here and then I need them again. This is not ironed. I did iron the finished pieces, but I didn't iron the not finished. This is a fun little stitch, but there's an awful lot more stitching than it at first appears. I thought this would go really fast and I'd have it done in a couple hours, and not so much. I have had to rip out several times because I was off. But so there's a little skinny salt box house here. I have to finish that. There's some ice skates and mittens up here, the word January, and some snowflakes, and I think that will do it. So I should be able to get this done this morning. And then the next one will be February, which will be really cute. I was really, really tempted to start either August or September. I don't know which one it is, but it had sunflowers in it. And I thought, I should start that. And nope, I just decided I'm going to stick with the way that Sarah is doing the Sal. I mean, we can do it any way we want, but I'm going to stick with that because then I will have finishes, as January and February get here. And I don't feel like I have enough stitched snowman. Okay, this is, I'll go ahead and show you this since it is here. This is the Crissette à Go-Go October, and it does say Halloween on it. And I'm going to show you, I started it on this just terribly thick or terribly large fabric. It's really fun to stitch on it. I mean, it's big, but you kind of feel like you're stitching on a soft version of a plastic canvas because the holes are so big. But this is the start to it, the witch and the pumpkin. And I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And I think if I redid it on a regular, 16 count or 32 count, I would love it. So I think I may start that over. I don't know. I may finish it too. I don't know. Tell me what you think. It's just, I don't know. It's just a little off. It's not, and I love the first one I did so much. So I kind of hate to, not have it be the first one. I'm going to show you just a little bit of this. I'm not going to tell you what chart it's from. This is going to be a gift. It's either going to be part of an exchange or it's going to be a gift for a specific person. So it's from a sampler by I think it's I don't know. I feel like it's by a sampler from either Whilst Iris Snaps or Whistle Stop Stitcher, but I could be off on both. Anyway, it's a red house. And I'm just showing you that because that is going to take up some of my stitching time. That's something else I need to work on this month and next month. It needs to be done by the middle of October. So that's an important thing. And then I was going to show you this. This is a chart from Jacob, Modern Folk Embroidery. I cannot think of what it's called, and I don't have my iPad here. But it's a red sampler, and it has this really cool house in it. The house is like all the little individual bricks, and it's not filled in. You know, it's not like solid stitching. And I was just going along like gangbusters, stitching it, and I came from this side and stitched, you know, this way, started in the middle and stitched this way, and then I wanted to get to the roof. And as I was putting these little, whatever they're supposed to be, bricks or whatever, in up here, I realized I was off. And can you see where I'm off? Can you see what I forgot? I forgot the other two windows right here. So see how there's four windows. There's supposed to be four windows here too. That's the cat. She wants to go outside, but it's pouring rain. And every time I open the door for her, she's like, no. But it's like she forgets that it's pouring rain and 10 minutes later wants to go back out. But I'm just going to try to ignore her. So I need to take all of this out and stitch those other two windows. And I was doing it yesterday, and I was so frustrated with myself that I just put it away, which is never a good thing. I should have at least taken it out. And then the other thing, and this is just stuff I've kind of worked on in the last couple of days, but the other thing that I would really like to get done this year, this has been in the works for 2 years. I remember seeing Michelle Rudy working on this at one of the Midwest retreats, and I just loved it. And I think I came home and ordered the chart and started it, you know, right away, and then didn't finish it. But it is called Grateful, Thankful, Blessed by Brenda Gervais. You've all seen it. It's just gorgeous. And I am always, every time I get this out, I think I'm further along than I am. But this is where I am with it. And I worked on this some last night. Kind of got most of this filled in last night. I love the roof. My usual thing, I don't think I have any of the called for, but similar. And I was a little bit worried because I started stitching the house in, I just remembered what that pumpkin was, that it's called Pumpkin Harvest, that I stitched the pumpkins in the patchwork crow. But I started the house in Fallen Leaves. I think that, am I telling you that right? I'm pretty sure the house is stitched in, is it Copper Penny? Let me see if I can figure out. Give me 1 second, because I remember this being like a big deal. Oh, I love this chart so much. It's so pretty. Well, if I could find the key. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I changed all the colors. So that technically the house is supposed to be stitched in fragrant cloves, maybe? Nope. That is not the symbol. Nutmeg. And I didn't have any nutmeg, so I started it in Colonial Copper, which I only had, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I started it in Colonial Copper, and I only had 1 skein of Colonial Copper, but I did go and get 3 more skeins of Colonial Copper. So that's what I'm stitching it in. And I think it's pretty, I mean, it looks similar to the picture. I can't think of what nutmeg, I haven't had nutmeg in a really long time, if ever. But I think I changed every single color because I wanted to start it right away and I didn't have, most of the called for. It's mostly Gentle Arts and Classic Colorworks. I think this is a much older chart, but man, I just think it's so pretty, and I want to have it done for this year. So, any whoosies, you want to see it one more time? I love her dress, and these charts. I mean, that house is going to take some doing, and then the nice thing is it's just kind of a basic straight line border with the words all the way around. I may change Harvest and put Salic down here. Maybe. Put our last name. I think that would be kind of neat. These little people kind of remind me of me and my husband. Well, for sure me with my little round body. I don't know that she's exactly round, but yeah. Anyway, I love that. So, I'm struggling with what I want to do for September. If I want to do sampler September, if I want to just, this is where I'm leaning, and this can always change, and I'm sure it will, but I'm sort of leaning toward being kind of monogamous. And so today I'll finish the August crusette, and I will start. It's not August, it's what we did in August. So the January Crosetta Go-Go, and I'll start the February one. And I'll have that kind of by my chair, and whenever I feel like, putting a few little stitches in, I can always do that. And that I can do that for the whole month. I sort of feel like being very monogamous and stitching this until it's done. And I probably could do that if I get really sick of it. My problem is in being monogamous is what ends up happening is that if I get tired of something and I feel like I need to only stitch that, I just won't stitch. So that's why I always give myself lots of options. But what I could do is monogamous with Thankful, Grateful, Blessed, work on the gift, the red house, or exchange or whatever that's going to be, work on Tempo, the Crusette Go-Go, but then I also want to do Halloween, and I have the Shannon Christine Halloween ornaments. I have I have one Christmas ornament, one of my have-to Christmas ornaments done, and there's a bunch of other gifts I would like to make for people as Christmas ornaments. I also have a gift for my daughter's best friend. My youngest daughter's best friend asked me to do a cross-stitch piece for her, and I started it last year. And, of course, she picked out kind of a big piece. It's a fractor. I don't remember who it's by. You've seen it, but it's been a while. I would like to finish that for November. That's her birthday. And I also want to work on Ryan's Queen's Gambit piece, the Long Dog Sampler piece. In addition, I haven't even shown you this. I started a full coverage piece. It's not a Hade. It's by another company. I can't remember right off the bat. And I mean, that one's gonna take years. But I've been putting just like a few stitches in. I won't say every day, but per week. And I love it. It's so much fun, and it's a Halloween piece. So I'm kind of drawn to working on those as well. So I don't know. I'm just really kind of up in the air. I would like to do a little mini whip parade for y'all, and like if I can figure out exactly what I want to do for September and not change my mind a million times, then I could maybe do a whip parade and show you that full coverage piece, show you some of the other things I'm working on, because I have a ton. I don't have really any plans. I'm not like trying to get under a certain number of whips. I'm not trying to do that. But I am trying to get things finished. I really would. I would like to Noelle Sampler is almost done. I worked on that on Sunday. And I have very little left of that to do. So I kind of was playing around with working with that just working on that on Sundays. And then when that's finished, go to Kringles on Sundays. I would also like to work on Kringles. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's just so many things, but it's all fun and it's all good. And it's not ridiculous. It's It's fun. Um, I have this terrible fear of being bored, and yeah, that's probably never going to happen. I have made it so that I will never be bored. Still working on the witch rug, and then I have another witch rug that I would like to get both of those done in time for, I'd really like to get both of them done in September so that I can put them up in October. And then I would like to I have a Christmas rug that I would like to get done, and it's huge though, so I don't know, that's probably not going to happen. But I'd love to show that to you at some point in time. It's a nativity, and it's kind of the whole scene. It's kind of the whole city of David scene with the wise men coming into the city, and yeah, it's really pretty. So there's no end to the number of things. I will try to insert some pictures from Puerto Rico. I haven't even talked about that. We did go to Puerto Rico and spent almost a week there and had a great time with our daughter and son-in-law, and it was a very eye-opening trip. Puerto Rico is still very much in disarray from Hurricane Ida and Hurricane Marie, which happened several years ago, within a month of each other. And so I could not believe how much destruction was still there, and hasn't been fixed. Buildings haven't been rebuilt, and in some areas it kind of looked like a war zone. But beautiful beaches, beautiful, we went to the rainforest. That was definitely a highlight. We went horseback riding, spent a lot of time at the beach. It was a really, really fun trip. It was really hot though. It was actually about the same as it was in Nebraska, and maybe a little more humid there, but pretty much the same. Anyway, so no more trips planned now. One small little trip maybe to go to the Reflections Retreat if it ends up happening in October. Our numbers are ridiculous again and spiking and higher than they've been in months, and I'm so over all of that. I just, anyway, I don't even know. I mean, I have my opinions, but I won't share them because that's not why you're here. And so I don't know, we're kind of laying low a little bit again, and just not really doing a whole lot in terms of that. Maddie starts school again tomorrow. She went back up to Sioux Falls this weekend. I mean, she's been up there, but she had come home for a few days and then come home to go to Puerto Rico, and then spent a couple days on the other side of that at home, and that was really nice. And Ryan's in the middle of craziness, teaching and helping with one act and helping with cross country. And, he is just, that kid has always been my get involved in everything kid. He played sports, he did the musical, he was in band, of course, he was in every possible band there, that he could be in. And he's always been he likes to be on the go and busy and whatever. And so, I think he's loving it. And, of course, we're super proud. We're looking forward to going up to a football game at his school and getting to hear Pep Band play. So that'll be fun at one of these Friday nights. So basketball season is starting to ramp back up for him. And so he'll be busy, and, kind of the yard work is winding down. I think I'm pretty much done watering. It was so sweet. We had a young girl who we've never had before. Both of the girls that we normally have watch our house, which is really more like babysitting the pets. But the girls that we've always had in the past couldn't stay here when we were in Puerto Rico. And so one of them recommended another young girl who we knew kind of, but didn't know real well. And I left kind of concerned because I just felt like she's quite shy and very quiet, very sweet. But I just, there's just so much with watching. I mean, I had her come over and I showed her everything. And it took about an hour to kind of go through all the pets and the chickens and what all to do in the house and blah, 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 blah. And at the end of that, I said, and I don't think I'm going to have you water. Like, there's enough for you to do. And I was already concerned that, she was going to be overwhelmed with everything that she had to do. I said, don't worry about watering. And she said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, it's okay. If you know what, it's the end of August. If plants die, they die. Well, she watered everything. I mean, I didn't even show her. And I think we did get a little bit of rain, but she watered, so she kind of kept everything up. So then I came back and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to keep it up, because I kind of expected I would come back and everything would be dead and I wouldn't have to. And I'm like, no, I still need to, because it's, it's one thing to let something go if it's half dead, but if it's like looking great. And I mean, some of the things were looking better than they looked before we left. So I don't know. But I think they said on the news this morning, like, do not water the rest of the week. If you have a sprinkler system, turn it off, because we're supposed to get between 3 and 6 inches of rain today. And then I think more on Thursday. And they were like, you do not need to be watering. And so I think I'm done. Probably, we have a sprinkler system for the grass, but there are places it doesn't reach. And I have a lot of planted or potted plants and flowers everywhere, and so those all have to be hand watered. And I drag the hose through the garage from the front to the back, and it's a whole thing. And then it's going to be, I don't think we get up into the 90s anymore at all for the next, as far as I could see in the forecast. And so I won't have to spend quite as much time outside with the chickens and making sure that they're cooled off. And so, but it has stopped raining, so I do need to go let them out and let them, out into the pen, out of the coop and into the pen, because I'm sure they're not very happy with me. So I better go do that and let the cat out before she gets really angry with me. So my usual sign off: I hope you're well. I hope you're finding some time to stitch. I hope you're being safe and taking care of yourself and your loved ones. And, here's to prayers that this stupid pandemic just, I don't know, somehow dries up and goes away. And we can finally stop canceling events and get out there and do some things and see people again. I'm really starting to miss people. Although, we're starting to do more things, and hopefully we still can. Being vaccinated, we do kind of did feel very, very safe in Puerto Rico. I know I had several people say, oh, please be so careful in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is really serious about mask wearing, and every restaurant we went to, we had to show our vaccination cards and show proof of vaccination, or because my daughter and her husband only have their first shot, they had to show a negative COVID test within the last 72 hours. So they got tested right before we got there. And so that was really, and people were even wearing masks outside. I mean, it's not mandated for outside. It is mandated for indoors. And social distancing, and restaurants have to, can only seat at park capacity or whatever. But in the rainforest, I was astounded by how many people were wearing masks in the rainforest. And, it's huge, and you only see people every so often. But we went on a hike, and which I about died. It was very steep, and it wasn't far, but it was quite steep. And everyone in my family is in great shape except for me, of course. And but I did it. I finished it. It took me a little longer, but I was able to do it. I finished it, and much to my family's, I think they were like, wow, we can't. And it just kind of became a thing of, I'm doing this. Like, I don't care. I'm doing this. And I got very competitive about it. Not with them, just with me. And like, I was going to prove to them, because they're like, oh, Mom, it's okay. Just stay here. Just stay here and rest. We'll hike the rest of the way, and then we'll come back and get you. And I was like, I can do this. About died, but I did it. I was very proud of myself. But, so every once in a while you would pass people, and the people would put their masks up because it was quite a narrow path, and they would put their masks up. And we didn't take our masks on the hike. We didn't have them with us. And so we would, find a place to like pull off and be well away from the path so that because we didn't have masks on, so that people felt safe walking by us. But yep, it was very different than it is here, especially where we live. Out in the country, there really is not any mask wearing, and hasn't really been a whole lot of mask wearing at all for the whole time. And the numbers out here are a lot lower than they are in the big cities, but still. So, yeah, that was all we felt. We felt good about all of that. But anyway, that's all for today, guys. Take care of yourselves. Be good to yourselves. Get some good stitching in. And I hopefully will see you again soon. Bye, guys.